Image maps are very simple, but I think they require a little bit of more explanation. Basically, they create hotspots on the image which are clickable, and they can take us to different either pages or bookmarks, wherever. So yeah, let's explore. So I'm not sure where it was the last time we played around with it. Let me open with live server and I'll include it here. Then I'll clear out all of these. I'll get rid of all the styles. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll insert an image tag here. Okay. And for the source thing, it would be img, then food.jpg. It's already there. It's an image which is already present in the image directory. Okay. And let's see how it looks. So we have this image here. I'll make it a bit smaller. So for the image, width is going to be 500 pixels, for example. Or maybe I can make it a bit larger, 900 pixels. Okay, so this is our image. Now what we want to do is we want to create a hotspot around this region, maybe a rectangle here, this circle here, and this custom shape here, maybe. Okay, anything. So let's see how we can achieve this. Or maybe custom shape this one. So for rectangle, basically what we need to do is we need to provide coordinates, starting coordinates and end coordinates. Okay, so I'm really not sure whether it will take up these. No. So what we need to do is it has to be proper rectangle, I think, and we need to provide the XY coordinates of the beginning. So we'll take this one, okay, and XY coordinate of the end. So top left and bottom right. So let's see. Let's try it out from here. But before that, before doing any of that, we can see here that we have an image tag. We have a map. Inside the map, we have defined a couple of areas, and somehow we have linked this map to this image. Okay, the map has a name, and we use map inside the image, so we are telling the image to use this particular map. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a map first. So I'll create a map. Okay, its name would be food map, for example. Okay, it's going to have a couple of areas. So the first area would be of type circle. Okay, so area shape is circle. Their coordinates, we'll look into it, and as an href, maybe we will Google food. Okay, so maybe this can be our href, right? This can be our href. So this would be our href. Food rectangle. Okay, we'll begin with rectangle, then we'll move to circle. So this shape would be rectangle. So you can see that it's looking for coordinates. So what are the coordinates? So the first coordinate would be, you can use any tools, you can use Photoshop, you can use Microsoft Paint, anything to measure coordinates. Simplest way I feel is to use any screenshot tools. Start from the top left and drag until where you want to. Okay, so here. So we can see that the x is 790 and y is 1. Okay, 790 by 1. So x axis is 790. Y-axis is 1. Again here, the bottom right corner, again I'll do the same thing. I'll use any screenshot tool. I'll start from the top left of the image and move all the way down to this corner, and you can see that the x-axis is 900 and y is 100. Okay, so 900 by 100. So it's 900 and 100. And for rectangle, you can see for all the coordinates, they are separated by commas. Okay, so they are separated by commas. Okay, I'll save it and let's see what happens now. As I move around the image, seems like it's not working. So this is the map, this is the area. Doesn't seem to be working. So we have an area, the shape is rectangle, coordinates we have defined some. So let's see one thing. Let's define a coordinate that's very obvious. So for example, it starts from 0, 0. So if the coordinate starts from 0, 0 and it moves all the way up to maybe 200, 200. Okay, so 200 or 100, 100. Let's see what happens. Still doesn't seem to be working. So let me pause the recording and debug it for a moment. Did you realize the reason? We created a map, we created an image, but we have not linked the image with the map, right? And the way we link is we use map, and it would be pound food map. Now it should work ideally. So you can see that this region from 0, 0 to 100, 100, they are clickable now. And if I click them, it goes to this particular, page. One thing I can do here is I want to open it in a new tab, right? So for that I can use target blank. Okay, for that I can use target blank. Now let's find out our actual coordinates for the rectangle, and let's see if it works. So again, I'll use any of the screenshot tools. I'll start from the top left of the image, and this here is X is 796, Y is 0, 796, 0. So we have 796 and 0. And the bottom left corner of the rectangle is it is 995. So it's 995. Let's see if it's working. So as I hover over it, we can see that the mouse turns into hand, right? So it's very obvious that this is a hotspot, it's a link. And as I click it, I see that this opens. Maybe it's SESMA. So I'll use SESMA. Okay, nice. Now let's see how we can, now that we have done a little bit of coding ourselves, let's go through the documentation now. Okay, this much information will make you already comfortable with image maps. So the HTML map tag defines an image map. An image map is an image with clickable areas. The areas are defined with one or more area tags. Okay, so here if you try to click computer, cup, or the phone, they take us somewhere, right? And they are done here like this. And how does it work? The idea behind an image map is that you should be able to perform different actions depending on where you click on the image. To create an image map, you need an image, some HTML code that describes the clickable areas. So image as usual, using image. Use map is used to create a relationship between image and the map. Then you create map, okay, give it a name, and then give it areas. So one of the areas there, you can give it a rectangle, circle, or poly, or default. So rectangle coordinate come in pairs, one for the x-axis, another for y-axis. So these are x and y-axis. So you can see that the first coordinate looks for this position, which is this much far from the left, this much far from the top. The second asks for the bottom. Okay, and this is again a pair of x and y. Okay, we did the same thing by using the screenshot tool. Okay, so and also you can use programs like Paint, and other image tools. So you can see that this particular rectangle became our hotspot. So for circle, what happens is that the first coordinate that you need to define is from the center, the x and the y. Okay, let's see. Let's define one, and then third is radius. So they will show this. The third one is radius. Okay, so first is x, second is y, and third is the radius. Let me show you this. So I'll create another hotspot here for any one of these circles, maybe this salad. So here what I'll do is I will create another shape inside our area, or in another area inside our map. Okay, so I have an area of type circle, and href is going to be okay. And for coordinates, say for example this is the center, right? So I'll again use one of the screenshot tools, and until the center I can see that it's 237 by 266. Okay, 237 266. So 237 266, and then finally we need radius, and we can easily measure radius in the same way. So the radius is going to be around, if you look at the height, it's 50 pixels. Okay, so I'll make radius around 50 pixels and I'll save it. And now if I go here, obviously this rectangle is clickable, and also this circle is clickable now. And what happens if I click on this circle? It searches for salads. Okay, so I'll also do it target blank. Easy. So rectangle wants two things: the top left coordinates, the bottom right coordinates. Circle needs two things. First is coordinate to the center, and second is the radius. Cool. Let's move ahead with the documentation. Another shape is poly, and poly contains several coordinate points which create a shape formed with straight lines, okay, or polygon, and this can be used to create any shape. Okay, so for example, for this thing we can give it a couple of measurements, couple of coordinates, and it will basically create straight lines to this coordinates, and hereby this it does not need to be accurate. Okay, it should be roughly accurate, and this entire area becomes clickable. So there are a lot of pair of coordinates. Okay, let's try it out, then it will make a little bit more sense to you. So what can I use here? So maybe let's try to make this thing. Okay, let's try to make this particular plate as clickable, or maybe let's make this clickable. Let's try to make this sea salt clickable first using polygon tool. So another area inside the map. Okay, and shape is going to be poly. Href is going to be, we are going to Google search sea salt. The alt is going to be sea salt. Okay, now coordinates. So we give it a couple of points and straight lines are drawn to it. So let's see what happens if we start from here. The coordinates are 115, 150. So it's 115, 150. Then next set of coordinates could be again starting from the top left. It could be 221.73, 221.73. Then 290, 170, 290, 170, and then 191, 239, 191, 239, 191, 239. Okay, I'll save it, and let's see another thing. Let's give it a target of blank. Okay, now this rectangle is clickable, this circle is clickable, and also you can see that this sea salt is clickable now, right? So very flexible tool. So I can click this and it's searching for sea salt, and it does not need to be a perfect shape. Okay, let me give you another example of selecting this oval plate. So I'll create another area. Please practice it, okay? Unless you practice it, you won't be comfortable. So this is going to be poly plate. Just giving it a name, nothing. Poly plate. Okay. And now what you can do is you can give a couple of coordinates. So I'll maybe start from here. So coordinates are going to be 334, 227, 334, 227. Then I'll maybe move here. So it's 470, 250, 470, 250. Then I'll move somewhere here. It's 523, 388, 523, 388, 523. 388. Then I can take this particular point here. 413, 454. 413, 454. It does not need to be accurate. It needs to be roughly accurate. Okay. Then I can take maybe this point here. So here it could be somewhere here. So it's 296, 317. 296, 317. And finally, I think this much is enough for our example. I think you got the point. And now, this rectangle is clickable, this circle is clickable, this is clickable, right? And also this plate is clickable now. This entire plate is a hotspot which is clickable now. So it's very flexible, very useful for making images hotspots. Okay, let's move ahead. So yeah, in the click handler, you can obviously write a function which is handled by JavaScript. So we use map, area, and use map. Background images. So To add a background image on an HTML element, you use style attribute and the background image property. So background image takes URL. Okay. So we have played around a little bit with it. We have explored all of these, repeat and everything. Okay. Background cover, etc. We have seen this in great detail. Background stretch, everything we know. Next, the picture element. Okay, so picture element is very useful for optimization and responsiveness and everything. So what happens is picture element takes in different sources. So this image here is fallback in case we are not able to load these, only then this will be used. Okay, so let me read out the definition for you. The HTML picture element give web developers more flexibility in specifying image resources. So the picture element contains one or more source elements, each referring to different images through the source set attributes. The way the browser can use different images that best fits the current view or the device. So what happens is we give it a list of images of different widths and etc. And it's up to browser. That browser will select the most suitable one for us. And here it is saying that for this particular fallback image, always specify an image element as the last child element of picture element. The image element is used by browsers that do not support picture element or none of the source tags match. Okay. Now when to use picture element? There are two main purposes of picture element. One is bandwidth. So if you have a small screen or device, it is not necessary to load the large file, right? The browser will use the first source element with matching attribute values and ignoring any of the following elements. And format support, some browser or device may not support all image formats. By using picture element, you can add images of all formats. And browser will use the first format that it recognizes and ignores any of the following, right? So for example, you can have the same image PNG, JPEG and GIF, and the very first one that the browser recognizes, that will be used. So this was about picture element. Favicon is this thing. You see W3 here and a favicon for Undraw here, favicon for Figma here, favicon for Google Sheets here. So there are sites where you can create your own favicon, or actually you can use any image you like for the favicon. Next, in the head of your HTML, you have to use a link. REL is going to be icon, type equals to image / x - icon, and then you can supply the path. Okay, and this way your favicon will be created. Definitely whenever you practice, you're practicing anything, make sure to give it a favicon. Tables, again we show them in short. It looks something like this with minimal design. So we have table tag, then TR, that means each of the table rows. Then these are table headings, so they have like 3 columns. Then table definitions, so they have these 3 columns which are not heading, normal columns, and as many columns as we need, as many rows that we need. So this is that is why developers don't like to use it much, because it's very tightly coupled. Whenever you have to make any changes, you have to make a lot of changes. So you can think of it as this is table, entire thing is table. This is table row. This entire thing is table row. Inside that we have 3 table headings. This is another table row. Inside that we have 3 table descriptions, TDs. Again a table row, and inside that we have 3 TDs. So that is how you create tables. Okay. Each cell is defined by a TD and a NTD tag. TD is for table data, not definition, table data. So they are table cells. So these are table cells. Table rows, the entire thing is table row. Table headers, we have already seen. Okay, you can play around with tables if you want to. Table borders, it's interesting. So for table head, table data, you can give them borders. You can collapse the borders. So by default, borders are not collapsed. You can collapse the border using border collapse. Do try the examples and play around. You can style table in different ways. Here are a couple of examples. Okay. This is nothing but, all the cell level things and table level things. We have given it a border radius, nothing else. So, yeah, again, everything that you have already seen, they are used here. Border color, obviously, you can use. Now, table sizes. So, HTML tables can have different sizes for rows, columns, or the entire table. Use the style attribute with width and height property to specify the size of a table, row, or a column. Okay. So we can give width 100% to the table. Again, we can give classes and write these styles in the CSS, which is the recommended way. Individual columns can be given width, right? Rows can be given height. So this row, entire row is given a height. And there are a couple of exercises which you should try. Table headers. Tables can have headers, each for column and row, or for many columns and rows. Okay. So this is a table row. This is table header. This is table definition. This is table definition. So again, you are free to create, table headers wherever you need to. You can obviously use text align property. And yeah, so you see here, just like CSS grid, these two are spanned together. So this column 1 spans up to for 2 columns, right? So you can do this, that inside TR we have this TH and its call span is 2. So you don't really need to give heading here. It will just span across 2. Okay. So you can add captions, and caption serves as heading for the entire table. Okay. And then there are a couple of exercises. Let's complete table here. So there are paddings and spacings. So you can give them at different, places. Cell level, border spacing, you have all of these things. Then call span and row span, very similar to something you did in CSS grid. Okay, but you do this in the HTML level. Please try these out. So these zebra stripes are something very common. Again, you don't have anything special, but you can use always nth child even and give them special borders, right? So this is simple. CSS. And then table group. So column group element is used to style specific columns of a table. So for example, if you see here, these two columns are styled differently. So if you want to style the two first columns of a table, use column group and column elements. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay. And also you can always, explore the examples, try it yourself. So here you will see that you have these in the table row, you have this Monday till Sunday, right? You have these Monday till Sunday in this table row. In the next table row, you have in the next table row, you have this 1 until 7. Okay. In another, you have these. But what is the challenge is that we don't want to style row here, but what we want is we want to style these two columns. Maybe they are weekend columns or something like that, and for every table row. So for that we have this trick that before tr we create a column group, we give a call span2 and give it a style. Okay, this way the style gets applied to only the first two columns. Okay, so yeah, these were columns. Next we'll go to lists, but I think it's enough for today's class. We'll move it in the next class.